Hello, and thanks for joining. My name is Pete Malone, and I'm part of the SAP Mid-Market Strategic Innovations team in North America. My team is focused on developing new routes to market with and through private equity and selection advisory firms. To force multiply our go-to-market, we collaborate and co-innovate with our partners to effectively provide SAP solutions to mid-market customers we serve. About 80% of customers in North America are in the mid-market. If you look at customers that chose to run SAP last year, 1 out of every 3 were either private equity, growth equity, or venture capital backed. Through our partnership with ACG, we developed the SAP M&A Ambassador Program, which is the foundation of our conversation on how technology firms like SimpleFi are meeting demands of private equity firms in a fast-paced, challenging M&A environment. For today's session, I'd like to introduce Jon Essig from SimpleFi. Jon is the managing partner of SimpleFi. He's Chicago-based and has been a long-time friend and advocate for SAP. Today, you'll be hearing from Jon about accelerating value on M&A activity through analytics and planning. Jon, let's start with your background for an introduction to the audience.
Great, thanks, Pete. I've been helping companies from a consulting perspective optimize their financial planning, analytics, reporting, consolidations processes for the past little over a decade plus, specifically working with primarily with the SAP technology stack. And before I got into consulting, I worked on a corporate side for a number of different organizations within FP&A and corporate finance. Have my CPA, went to school, have a bachelor's in finance as well, and excited to be here with you today, Pete. So I think we just wanted to start with a quick introduction on our firm, SimpleFi. So like myself, we're a team of finance and analytics business process experts. We are a go-to partner for SAP. Specifically, like Pete said, within the Midwest, we have a lot of consultants and clients, as well as within Montreal in addition to that. Our number one focus as a firm is delivering value to our customers to drive them to be happy enough to provide references to new prospective customers, right? So obviously, like any other firm, we care about profitability, but we don't put that first. We put these relationships first. We work with a large range of firms across many different organizations, from companies that are within the mid-market to really large enterprise firms, which are multi-billion-dollar organizations, international, many business units. So this just gives you an idea of a lot of the processes that we help companies with. So whether that be your annual planning process, your long-range strategic plan, P&L, HR, capital planning, working capital, balance sheet, basic financial statements, as well as getting into more forward-looking, how can we run planning simulations? How can we use predictions to help seed and provide business insights into us so we can be more proactive? And then provide reporting and analytics. So that goes from financial statements, profitability, consolidations. These are all things that we commonly help companies with. And we've been doing this for a long time. And one of the things that we've realized is, yes, there are a lot of industry-specific requirements and business-specific requirements, but also there are a lot of commonalities within finance across organizations. So we've spent thousands of hours building content to help our customers drive quicker time to value with their business processes and not build things from scratch that we've learned how to build elsewhere. And then this gives you an example of within the last year, a couple customers that we've been implementing HR planning for, consolidations for, right? And a lot of these companies, especially the larger enterprise companies or a little bit larger mid-market companies, we'll go on and we'll work with them across through a finance transformation across 8 or 9 different areas and help them automate these processes. Some smaller companies we may focus on 2 or 3 areas with them that pass cost benefit analysis. So we're not just trying to shove software on people, right? We really view ourselves as strategic advisors, and we try to put your best interests first. So that's the quick the quick intro there.
Excellent. Thanks, Jon. So why are these customer references applicable to private equity firms, and how do you work with private equity firms?
Yeah, so good question. So we're working with your perspective and actual portfolio companies, both pre and post transaction, to help optimize and automate back office operations for financial planning, standardized reporting, across their business units or across portfolios, analytics, consolidations. So like I said, we do focus on the SAP technology stack, but we are a firm of FP&A business process experts, and we offer services for finance transformation, business process automation, software implementation, managed services. Sometimes we'll just have an FP&A director, a consolidations manager at one of our clients, go out and we'll cover and keep the lights on for organizations that we work with commonly. But as far as specifically pre and post transaction, what type of work are we doing? So, immediately, commonly prior to a transaction, getting ready for a sale, we might be pulled in, or right after the transaction, we can help, drive value without, bringing in necessarily, super expensive management consulting firm or having to talk technology with a big, IT firm. We're kind of right in the middle, right? We can get right to it. We can help you with the processes, and then we know the technology as well. So we're very efficient. And why, so back to the point, why are these references relevant? Because they show a lot of the typical work we do, right? So we're commonly also brought in by reference. So a lot of times, prior to a sale, we have relationships with different CFOs who have, brought us organization to organization to help them, get their books in order, right? So prior to a transaction, commonly we'd come in and help by automating and controlling the close to report process, which is especially important to ensure confidence in, the company's processes, ability to scale, and that the numbers are correct. And then post-transaction, for, M&A within portfolio, the first thing that you need within my space, on month one, is to be able to report out, consolidated management reporting and legal reporting, financial statements. And, for example, with Fiserv, that's exactly, what we saw. They were a $30 billion market cap organization. They merged with an organization of equal size, technically they acquired with the help of a private equity firm. And they more than, doubled their market cap. And what did they need to do on month one was report out those standardized consolidated numbers. And that's what we helped them with. So they used our services to make that happen, make sure on month one they were able to deliver that on top of the solid foundation that we helped them build for finance with SAP. So when you think about, post-acquisition, that's the first thing they were looking to address. And you can see, then the question for finance turned from just keeping the lights on to, how do we help executive leaderships drive value with the transaction? So on month 2 or 3 of the integration, we're helping Fiserv deploy pipeline and sales planning and analytics and sales performance reporting that they had already invested in, that we helped them build and deploy that across First Data. And we deployed that in just a few months to help them drive accuracy and accountability within their sales organization. Also now, they can look at, shared customers and look at, different initiatives and targeting that they want to do so that they can start to take advantage of the synergies within their organization. So, and then the application that we're getting stood up for Fiserv now, the next priority for them was looking at planning and analytics for people costs. So to give their leadership visibility in their number one spend item, their headcount, their people costs. So that was what makes sense in this scenario for Fiserv. And then another common application we implement across portfolio, obviously, financial statements and consolidations, like we did at Wolverine, and capital planning and analytics, right? So if you want to be able to plan out your working capital across your business units, across your legal entities, if you want to plan your capital planning initiatives. So there are a lot of different processes like that we help with. And like a Fiserv or a Wolverine, you can use the content and the knowledge, we've learned over many years to help you do so more efficiently, right?
Good deal. Good answer. Thanks, John. Now, what does a typical engagement with SimpleFi look like?
Yeah, so that's the other, when I talk about efficiency, so that is a good lead in to that last point, Pete. So when you hear about like a normal finance transformation that, the big four might sell you or a management consulting firm may be pushing, you think, all right, this is going to be this big, 2-year long project. And obviously integration, needs to be planned carefully out, and change management is hugely important. But one of the values that our organization brings is, as opposed to having this huge team that's going to consist of separate change management and process experts and design, and then IT coming in on the back side and on the back end, and you're spending 6 months just planning out what you're going to do and what you're going to build. Our business model proposition, 90% of our consultants are former, finance directors, CPAs, and MBAs who have run departments like myself before getting into consulting. So not only can we help you from a process standpoint, but we can actually then build it out for you, right? From the technologies as we focus on SAP. So it can seem like a lot of times also with these big, transformations, like you're kind of like reinventing the wheel. When you go through, back office optimization or finance transformation, and why is that? Is the business so unique that we need to build something, completely from scratch, starting with code to your specification? Well, there's certainly differences, industry to industry. There's certainly differences businesses to business. But I think the truth is perhaps, somewhere in the middle. So part of what we've done to help drive efficiency in our process optimizations as we're working with companies is, like I was mentioning earlier, after doing this for a decade plus, we as an organization on top of SAP's platform have invested thousands of hours in building actually business content for you to leverage and deploy, so that you can deploy something immediately within weeks, like we did for Fiserv with HR planning, right? Where we built this application out, we stood it up for them within weeks. Now, as a large scale enterprise, large enterprise organization, they're going to build that to spec and spend months doing that, but they had a much better springboard to get started. You can also compare that with like Wolverine, who's using our content for capital planning, which our content is probably more than they need, right? So they're just getting started and doing that in a few weeks. Or a professional services firm that we worked with who implemented that CRM, sales planning and analytics application, same content that Fiserv implemented. They did that as well in 6 weeks instead of, Fiserv deployed it in 6 months, right? So it depends on the scale of the organization, but we're able to drive a lot of value with the content as well as the background of people that we bring to the table. So for a typical engagement, if we look at like HR planning using our prepackaged content, again, that could be done in weeks with more of a fit to standard approach, or within a few months if we build your specification, leveraging common tenants. That can be more of the timing here. And we help organizations figure out the right approach based off of, their size and when things pass the cost benefit analysis. And when we engage, we go up front and we do a process design, and then we're building and, sprinting and deploying quickly thereafter.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Talk to me, what financial reporting and analytics challenges do firms you work with face during an M&A? And then a follow-up question, what are some of their pain points and how does SimpleFi solve for some of those pain points?
Yeah, one of the really big things is just lack of flexibility, and that becomes very apparent as you're integrating with another firm. It's also become very very apparent in the last year as companies' business models were upended and changed. But this has long been a complaint within finance and FP&A and reporting organizations. Is that lack of flexibility, right? So whether that's for reporting, being able to change how you're viewing your data, how you're viewing your reports, how you're measuring your profitability, or that's, scenario modeling. If you want to look at what if we acquire, or start this new line of business or acquire this additional company. So that lack of flexibility is one of the really big challenges. And kind of going along with that flexibility, it's also agility, because companies spend, best in class companies are spending a couple months on their annual planning processes. A lot of companies are still spending months on that process, and that I'm not saying that you should cut an annual planning process down to a few days. No, there's a lot more that goes into that. But you should be able to quickly build up a plan and a view and a report on your profitability in minutes and not days and hours spent collecting data from people, right? So you need flexibility, you need agility, and when you go through an integration, these things become super apparent, right? The other thing as you're going through an integration is lack of standards. So, how do I measure revenue recognition? What about how am I grouping together expenses and products and customers? And when you're bringing together organizations, driving a standard platform for performance measurement is really important. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you to drive value and consistency across your portfolio to even be able to speak the same language about what the numbers that you're looking at, right? So these are a lot of the challenges. And then, the last big one that we see is just dependency, right? So a lot of companies that are on legacy on-premise technology, as they go through big transformations like this, and they have a lot of dependency on IT, that makes these projects hugely expensive. And it makes them time intensive as well. Every time I want to do something, I've got to put a ticket in with IT. And we're seeing that with our best in class organizations, more and more change. Obviously there's been a trend of, CIOs rolling up to CFOs, and there's been a trend, as well. And maybe that's to an extent, leveled out a little bit, but there's been a trend I've seen of finance organizations building up their IT competencies, where they're building financial systems teams so that they can be agile and do some of this themselves. So, how are we helping companies, deal with these issues? So as a firm that is process focused but dedicated to a technology, I think we have kind of a unique lens to be able to design processes that pass cost benefit and can, be focused on flexibility and agility and modernization of the platform. So a lot of these things can be done by really good design up front, in combination with industry best practice content that we can leverage to help you deploy quickly and agilely, so that as you're doing so, we can change and adjust. And you're not, spending $2 million up front to deliver something in 6 months that then you realize doesn't work for you a year down the road, right?
Excellent. Thanks, John. Some really good insights there. I appreciate it. John, does SimpleFi get involved in integration and business technology selections? And then on that same question, what about business process optimization and financial transformations too?
Yeah, so the answer is all three. So definitely business process optimization, definitely finance transformation. On occasion, we get involved in technology selection, although we focus on SAP, but we do help companies with that. We're commonly involved early in the selection process, helping companies evaluate SAP technology, sometimes helping them evaluate a few others, but they know that we have our horse in the SAP cart, right? So we spend more of our time on business process optimization, helping companies build business cases, making sure they'll see value in these transformations as well. And then we do have experience working across multiple tools. If you look at the Gartner and the BARC surveys of the products that are out there today, we work with a number of them, but we keep coming back to SAP. When you look at their cloud platform with SAP analytics cloud, specifically planning analytics predictive, they're leading with their execution and vision. And we've dated around, and we, are happy with who we're married to.
Glad to hear it. Thanks, Jon. And now we've heard about post M&A financial reporting and analytics and how SimpleFi can help. How does SimpleFi help firms determine the value of potential M&A?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So one of the ways that we can help is through standardized reporting. So one of the use cases that's really interesting to me, because commonly with large enterprise companies, we're assisting them with standardized reporting across their portfolio, and that may be consolidating their data, but also coming up with a standard set of views as to how they're going to manage their business, right? So we have content that you can leverage to actually upload and submit financial data, to have it in one central repository so that you can evaluate all of this in one place. So we're not an M&A, advisory firm that we're going to go in and, as you're doing evaluation, we're going to, help you with the management consulting aspect of it. But we can certainly help you from a process, internal process perspective and standardization perspective. That's something that we're really good at. And I can only imagine, working at a PE firm, it would be great to be able to look across your prospective portfolio and your actual portfolio, and be able to report on a lot of that information in one centralized repository. So you can stop searching for, version 8 of that file, or trying to remember if you saved this file on your desktop or the shared folder, right? That's something that, we'd be, glad to help with.
And Jon, in your work with M&A activity and PE firms, what are some of the common pitfalls, and how do you help your clients avoid some of those common missteps?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit earlier with the challenges, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But the one thing that I didn't mention as much, which is as specific to M&A and integration of firms, is the change management, right? So this is one of the biggest pitfalls that we see, and to help companies through this, we have a standard engagement model that drives the right combination of top-down change with a bottom-up groundswell is kind of the ideal combination of this. So, you can get really fancy with the management consulting perspective, helping companies through this. But I think as a firm, we're quite efficient to help you guide you through your finance, analytics, planning processes with our change management that comes packaged together with our process optimization and implementations.
Excellent. Thanks, Jon. Jon, that was my last question. I wanted to say a huge thank you for taking some time out of your day to come and join SAP and ACG for this event. It's been great having you along, incredibly insightful conversation, so thank you. To the audience listening in here from home, Jon and the SAP sponsors will be around for virtual networking this afternoon, and so please join in for that. I just want to remind the audience that the next session coming up here, stick around with us. David Malone, the CFO of Moderna, will be joining with DJ Paoni, our SAP president for North America, for the next session following right on this. So thanks very much again, Jon, and thank you to the audience.